All right, so sine of a over 2. Yesterday we did double angles. Today we do half angles. Half angles, half angles. The formulas are as follows. Plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of the angle divided by 2. Then for this right here, it's plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of the angle divided by 2. Tangent ends up being something different. 1 minus the cosine of A divided by the sine of A. It happens to be the same, so you choose one or the other. You choose one or the other. It happens to be the same as sine of A over 1 plus cosine of A. It is on the sheet. Can I show you something interesting? If they're equal to each other, we should be able to cross multiply, right? What's sine times sine? Sine squared. What's 1 minus cosine times 1 plus cosine? 1 minus cosine squared. And 1 minus cosine squared is the same as sine squared. It's the beauty of mathematics. Everything is connected. It all makes sense. Let's find our half angles. Cosine of 15. I showed you how to use a sum and difference formula the other day. Now let's use a half angle formula. Cosine of, I wish that there was an angle I divided in half to get 15. It is 30. Very good. So therefore, I set up my formula. Plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of, do I choose 15 or do I choose 30? If you choose the angle that you are dividing by 2, it says the angle you are dividing by 2, and we're dividing 30 by 2, so you do cosine of 30. All over 2. So let's first determine whether it's positive or negative. Cosine of 15, which quadrant will that be in? First quadrant, so it will be positive or negative. It will be positive. Good, Henshi. I wish I knew what the cosine of 30 degrees was. It is the root of 3 over 2. That's the trigonometry. Now we're going to deal with what you really struggle with. Fractions, complex fractions, and radicals. That's really what makes this day more challenging, is that you forget your rules of fractions. I'm going to do one step at a time. I create common denominators, so 2 over 2 plus the root of 3 over 2, all over 2. What is the new fraction I get in the numerator? The root of 2 plus the root of 3 over 2, all over 2 over 1. Multiply by the reciprocal. And when I do that, I get the square root of 2 plus the root of 3 over what? 4. I can't do anything with the top. In fact, I have what's referred to as a complex radical. A radical in a radical. And that is acceptable in mathematics. Over, can you take square root of the bottom? Dos, which is Spanish for 2. There you have it. What do you think about that? Suppose it wasn't an angle like 15. Suppose it was something a little bit more challenging. Pi over 8 is not 15. Pi over 8 is 22.5. So we're looking at the sine of 22.5 degrees. I wish I knew an angle I divided by 2 to get 22.5. So therefore, this can be rewritten as the sine of 45 over 2. I wish that I knew a formula I could use. What's my square root of 1 minus cosine of an angle? what is the angle I'm going to use? 45. All over 2. First of all, sine of 22.5 will it be positive or negative? It will be positive. So the positive square root of 1 minus, what is this square? What is the cosine of 45? Root of 2. All over 2. Let's go ahead and simplify complex fraction. What do I need to do at this point? Okay, let's check this out now. If we head to, we just did that, that. We move to, here we are. So the last part that we're going to look at today is our sum to product sum formulas. So if I quick flip to this section, this is the part of your notes you're going to want to be focusing on. Now covered all of the formulas on this sheet. So you can feel good about that. Every formula has been in class now. And we just did, that's what we just did. That was your assignment. Okay, so okay. So it's helpful to take a product and write it as a sum, and take a sum and write it as a product. So in this situation, you have a product. I'm going to write it as a sum. If you look at your notes right here, it's the bottom one. The bottom one says product to sum, and the third one down says sine times cosine. We're not going to write them all. I just want to make sure that you all know how to locate this formula. 1/2 times sine of a plus b plus sine of a minus b. You guys have that? And the next one says, write it as a sum to a product. And if you look at the box up above there, you have sine plus sine. Turns out that that is equal to 2 times the sine of a plus b divided by 2 times the cosine of a minus b divided by 2. Can you all locate those? Good with that? Okay, so this is very basic. It says write the following product as a sum. You identify that you have product of sine times cosine. In the example right up here, we have, in fact, located the appropriate formula. So I have 1/2 times the sine of, what would a plus b give you? 6x. Plus the sine of, what would a minus b give you? 2x. And that's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Take the product, write it as a sum. Take the sum, write it as a product. That's it. All right, the next one, 3 times sine of x cosine of 2x. So I got to look for the product, and this turns out to be 1/2 times the cosine of a minus b plus the cosine of a plus b. I use. I found it on my sheet. I'm trusting that my sheet is correct. So what's different about the 3 in front? So what number should I have out front? 3/2. Instead of 1/2, I'll multiply by 3, get 3/2. The cosine of, what is a minus b? Negative x plus the cosine of a plus b would give you 3x. You're not allowed to leave a negative angle. Do you remember from your even and odd identities? Henrik already pointed out that the cosine of a negative, whatever, just goes away. Cosine of x, cosine of 3x. That's all I'm looking for, folks. That was product to sum question. It would have in front of them because you have 2 terms here. If you were to put it out in front of the that would mean that for negative, which would be incorrect. This says sine minus sine. As I look at my sheet, it looks like it should end up being 2 times the cosine of a, is it plus b or minus b? Plus b divided by 2 times the sine of a minus b divided by 2. That's the form I use. Now I just plug in the appropriate pieces. 2 times the cosine of, what is a plus b over 2? 3x plus x is 4x, divided by 2 is 2x. Times the sine of 3x minus x, divided by 2. That's it. Try the next one on your own. Go. And I located the formula, and so I have negative 2 sine of, if I add them together, I get 11x, so it's 11x over 2. I get sine of a minus b, it's going to be 5x over 2. There we have it. Any question there? Yes. That's what the sheet says. Okay, last example. Now we want to find the exact value. This cosine of 45, change it to 75. That's how I want to do the problem, not like this. So 3 sine of 105 times sine of 15. So I'm going to first, I would like to find this exact value. Does everybody agree that we don't know the exact value of 105 for sine? We could figure it out using like sum and difference formulas and things like that, right? But it turns out that we can figure out this exact, just finding an appropriate matches to it. If we take these products and we write them as sums, we see sine times sine simplifies to this 1/2 times the cosine of, is it a minus b? And then plus the cosine of a plus b. I don't know, is it? Yep, looks like there's a minus in there. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, so I can generally memorize all of the formulas on that sheet. Nobody really needs to tell me any of them, except for these. They all kind of look the same, don't they? It's hard to catch where the pluses and minuses and the cosine and the sines are, But anyway, so that's the form. So instead of 1/2, I'll have 3/2 times the cosine of what is A minus B? 90 degrees. Minus the cosine of what's A plus B? 120 degrees. Now look at what we have. We have angles that we know the exact value of. What is the cosine of 90? It's 0. What's the cosine of 120? Negative 1/2. So I have 3/2 times 1/2, which is 3/4. It's kind of neat. Turns out that this exact value is 3/4. You okay with that? Let's try the last one. Cosine of 75, cosine of 15. It looks like cosine minus cosine. Pull from right here, can't we? You get -2 times the sine of A plus B divided by 2. What is 75 plus 15 divided by 2? 45. Times the sine of, and then we have A. What's 75 minus 15 divided by 2? Yeah, I get 30. So what's the sine of 45? √2/2. What is the sine of 30? Very good, it's 1/2. Notice that the 2 and the 1/2, and I'm left with -√2/2. That's it, folks. Good work today.